The Last of Us Part 3 is coming, ladies and gentlemen. And although it may not be Naughty Dog's next game, it's in the pipeline now. That Last of Us Online has been cancelled, and thanks to the Grounded 2 Making of Last of Us Part 2 special, we got an update from Neil Druckmann himself, who said that there is probably one more chapter to tell, which means The Last of Us Part 3 will be the finale of Ellie's story and the finale of the main storyline for The Last of Us. Now, we got this article from Forbes which reads, The Last of Us Part 3 is happening, probably not until next decade on PlayStation 6. And I want to focus on this part of the article, which reads, but Druckmann's comments indicate that The Last of Us Part 3 is likely miles and miles away. I'm talking like the next decade, as given both development time and a wholly new game coming out before it, that's probably at least 2030, given that we are just in the I came up with the idea stage for it. Now, just in 2022, Neil Druckmann did have the skeleton outline for The Last of Us Part 3, so it seems like the idea for The Last of Us Part 3 came around a long time ago. However, I'm thinking 2 years later down the line, now he has a completely new idea or has made a lot of alterations to the story, and is why they are still in the idea stage for The Last of Us Part 3. Not to mention they were working on The Last of Us Online, which has now been cancelled, but I still believe a lot of the assets and things that they built upon for The Last of Us Online may be used for The Last of Us Part 3, as that game was intended to have a storyline in it. And just like in my last video, which you should go ahead and watch right now, where we break down a lot of the information that was said in the Grounded 2 special, I still think they could kind of use what they did in The Last of Us 2 online mode and make that into a spin-off title. But it seems like the prediction is that this game will be coming in 2030, and it will be for the PlayStation 6, which is honestly no surprise. We also have to assume now that Neil Druckmann has the TV show in mind when creating The Last of Us game, and he's probably thinking, how would this be in terms of a TV show? How would it translate and adapt to the HBO show? And it's probably another reason why he's changed maybe the storyline of The Last of Us Part 3. And we talked about it in my update in the last video. However, I wanted to talk about it a little bit more here. The Last of Us 2 was set to be an open world game in its early stages, and the way they were developing the game was actually an open world. However, in the later stages of development, they realized that the story just wouldn't fit an open world game. But I think Naughty Dog has wanted to make an open world game for a while, and for The Last of Us Part 3 to be an open world game would be a massive marketing point, a massive selling point, and it would really change the formula of The Last of Us Part 3 and The Last of Us franchise. But I wouldn't be disappointed at all if The Last of Us Part 3 isn't an open world, but I think that would be just the next stage up from what we got in The Last of Us Part 2. There is a really good chance that The Last of Us Part 3 could be an open world title, and if it isn't, I really do think that PlayStation should allow one of their studios to make a Last of Us open world game, maybe a spin-off title, maybe featuring Joel and Tommy, as I'm sure there were plans for a prequel game at some point, as that would be a major seller for PlayStation. And it would also allow them to bring back Joel to be the main character of a Last of Us game, and also with the huge fan support of Days Gone and people signing petitions to make a Days Gone 2, maybe this could be the answer. A Last of Us spin-off title, whether it be a prequel, whether it be new characters, but having this survival zombie open world title with a deep, rich narrative is something that would please their Days Gone fan base. And it would just please The Last of Us fans too. And I think with all the assets that they made with The Last of Us Online mode, it wouldn't go to waste, because now they would be using it and perhaps aspect of that storyline within this spin-off title, as I don't think it would work for The Last of Us Part 3, as that is a very separate title and has its own unique storyline. Also, with Neil Druckmann saying that there is one more chapter left probably, this would indicate that The Last of Us Part 3 would be the finale of The Last of Us series, or I should say the mainline series. Neil Druckmann also mentioned that even though the games are very separate in themselves, as The Last of Us 1 felt very different from The Last of Us Part 2, and likely Last of Us Part 3 will feel different to the other two games, they all have a through line linking all of them, and that is Ellie. Now, of course, I believe that Ellie will be the main character of The Last of Us Part 3, and it will likely be an older version of Ellie, and the theme will be very different for The Last of Us Part 3. We know they already set up Tommy's storyline for The Last of Us Part 3, with him wanting revenge on Abby for Joel, and perhaps he will go off the deep end and won't be able to get a redemption arc the same way Ellie got one in The Last of Us Part 2. I would also really want it to be an Ellie and Tommy game, but this time Ellie looking after Tommy, where the reverse happened in the first game where Joel was looking after Ellie. Having Tommy be on this revenge path and Ellie alongside him trying to calm him down, trying to make him see reason, or they could even do a storyline very similar to the first game. Ellie is now trying to get to the new Fireflies to give her blood to finally give a cure to humanity, and Tommy is now aiding her in this quest, but has the intention to absolutely decimate Abby when he sees her. But this time Ellie won't let that happen, as she wants her surgery to go through this time, and she won't let what happened with Joel happen again. Something along those lines I think would be a very interesting story. The stage is set for The Last of Us Part 3 to be absolutely huge. Naughty Dog is working on a brand new IP in the meantime, but The Last of Us Part 3 is in conceptual stages right now, and we already know Neil Druckmann has sort of an outline for what the story should be, and they've already teased at aspects of the story in The Last of Us Part 2. It's going to be the final chapter, and we know that The Last of Us Online was taking too much of their resources and was affecting the development of single player games, and now that's out of the way. This new Naughty Dog IP and The Last of Us Part 3 will come a lot sooner than it would have if they were working on The Last of Us Online. And you got to think that this mainline series actually started on the PlayStation 3 and will likely end on the PlayStation 6. Although the Forbes article did predict the game will likely come in 2030, I'm hoping that it comes a year or two before that, as it would be a 10-year wait if The Last of Us Part 3 comes in 2030. But hopefully we get some new details and information, maybe even a gameplay teaser of the new Naughty Dog IP this year, and maybe we can get some behind the scene updates of what's going on with The Last of Us Part 3, and I will update you all on all The Last of Us Part 3 information. So go ahead, subscribe to the channel, like the video. I hope you enjoyed my last video on The Last of Us Part 3. If you haven't watched that yet, go ahead in the comment section below and in the description, and I'll leave it in the eye in the corner so you can go ahead and catch that. We've got a Last of Us playlist on this channel, and we talk about some amazing games on this channel, all the best AAA games that are coming up, from open worlds to action adventure single player RPGs, all on this channel. So go ahead, subscribe, like the video so it reaches more people. Guys, thanks so much for watching. Peace out, God bless. I'll see you on my next videos. Take care, guys.
I work hard each and every day. I get lost in the words I say. I don't push pause, no, I push play. I won't stop till I make a change. I withdraw on the things I make. I turn flaws into flawless traits. I build